So today, in the gospel reading, we have another excellent example of where a cursory reading of the gospel can lead us to incorrect ideas and perceptions about who Jesus Christ is. Okay? So in this story where Jesus and his disciples and a crowd, having just healed the centurion's son, are now on the road, and they're passing by this funeral bier, this funeral procession of the widow whose only son now is dead. So this means her husband has died, the son has died. And so where we tend to focus many times is the resurrectional power of Jesus. And so we focus many times on the son, on the dead son. Okay. And again, the gospel gives us many, many messages and many teachings, okay? But we have to be careful that we don't just focus on a single teaching. Now, in this case, the resurrection from the dead is not only belongs to Jesus. We have resurrection from the dead in the Old Testament, all right? So, I mean, do we make a big thing of it? Of course, it's a miracle. But what will happen is we will focus on Jesus, the miracle worker. And that's where we stop. And we lose the idea of who he is. He's more than just someone that performs miracles. He is a person he is God. And in his personhood, in humanity, he gives us examples of who we are supposed to be. So, let's take our focus off of the son and put it on the widow. Because many times the widow is not talked about. So what happens here? So in the story, he says, and as he drew near, he beheld a man, the son of his mother, she was a widow. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her and said, do not weep. So the focus right now for Jesus is not on the dead son. The focus is on the widow. So a very cursory reading of this will lead us to, again, an erroneous conclusion. Well, Jesus wants to have pity on the widow because now she's going to be left alone. She has no husband. She's only son. Who is going to help this widow? And so Jesus is there as Superman to help her out and give her compassion. And that denies the whole essence of what the Torah demands. This is a Jewish widow. This is not a pagan widow. They're not going to throw her to the wolves. The Torah demands what? It demands, in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, it says, you will protect the widow from any debt. If she has any debt resulting from the house that she owns, she is clear of that debt. She has priority in court for whatever accusations there are before those who are fatherless. So she has priority in court. Judges, Jewish judges, are demanded to show widows justice. And there are severe penalties for the mistreatment of widows. So we can't just look at this story and say, oh, the poor widow, she has no help, and Jesus comes and helps her. This denies Judaism and what it stands for. So that can't be the message. It's got to be something else. So what is it? What are we supposed to get from this? And what we're supposed to get from this is the Greek word esplagnia. This is a word in its ancient form. We don't use this word anymore. It's splagna. Splagna means my guts, my innards, my liver, my kidney, my heart. It's the literal innards. This is where we get that term. I had a visceral feeling about this. It struck me in my innards. So splagnia is much more than just compassion. Look at the sad situation. maybe I can throw a few coins. It's much more than that. He has an intense feeling for her suffering. This is not about her situation. This is about the fact that she has lost somebody. It is Jesus Christ looking at the impact of death. Recall what happened with Lazarus. What did he do when he came and he saw Lazarus dead, knowing that he was going to resurrect him? And he cried. So we see this deep emotional connection in his humanity. He now feels for the suffering of the woman, and in English we translate it to compassion. Con, with, and then pascha, passion. So we translate that he shares the compassion with her. And he reaches out and he deals with her first. And he offers to her the compassion. And then he performs the miracle and returns her son. Not necessarily out of an obligation so that she can now live a good life. The Torah is going to take care of that. So we have to look deeper than just these superficial readings. Okay, so now, what's the lesson here? The lesson is that we have to have this same compassion, this same level of understanding, and this same level of how we are supposed to engage with those who are less fortunate. Many, many times, the way that we do that is from above, is I want to help those in need. I want to help the poor. So we whip out our wallet, $50, $100, $1,000, $10,000. There you go. Here's your money. I feel better about myself. I've done something good, but I've done it from above because I have helped you down there and given you what you need. And the lesson that Jesus teaches us is, no, you get down there and you live and be among them and understand their compassion. This is why it's so important for us to connect through a soup kitchen or through some type of ministry where we can physically see what the suffering is. And many times we are disconnected from that. I have heard it among people that have told me, Father, I want to help the poor just as long as I don't have to touch them. So is this the compassion that Jesus teaches us to show? No. We have to be among those. That is compassion. So that we see eye to eye what that suffering is. And that is theosis. That is what brings us closer to the humanity of who Jesus was. Now, through that, we then see the divinity. We see that he is the one that will conquer death and will take away that suffering. The human part says, you have to be there with them. And the divine part says, God is with them and with us, and he will lighten the burden that we do when we share in compassion with those less fortunate.